Good afternoon, Las Vegas. I hope you haven't traveled too far to get here. What most people really have to do is you just go to your computer, you go on a Google search or whatever, and type in radiotribune.com. Black screen might come up there when you get on the right Radio Tribune, and you just hit that triangular little button that'll play. It's a play button, and that'll play the what's being played live on the radio, and you can listen in, turn up your volume and whatnot, and you can hear the radio show. And you can hear this no matter where you are in the world, as long as you can get access to online, and you can listen to the show. The other thing that we offer here is we archive everything on YouTube, and we're actually doing a live upstream now. And you could go to YouTube or you could go to our website, radiotribune.com, and you can go to our radio website. And down below the play button is a blue little thing down there calling past radio shows or live shows or recordings or what have you. Past shows, I think it says. And you can click on that and you will see a display of thumbnails come up that have the prior shows. And for the most part, they'll have the date there, what day they were recorded. They'll have the Herd, the show. They may have Face the Tribune, other shows that come on Radio Tribune. And you just click on any one that you might want to hear. If it doesn't show the one you want, you can go to the right, and there's a little arrow button there. And you can click on that, and that'll show you more thumbnails. And then you can go down and keep thumbing to the right there. And then it'll be an opportunity to say more shows, and you can click on that and a bunch more thumbnails will come up. And then if that's not enough, down below that, there's even another opportunity for more shows. And you can find the one you want within, let's say, the last couple of months. Prior to that, you'd have to type in the show that you're looking for and perhaps the guest, and that'll come up. Or you can always go to like a Google, and on Google you can type in the name of the show, like The Herd. You could type in my name, Clark, and you could type in a guest if you wanted to, like John Smith or whoever you're looking for, and that'll come up on Google. And then you just hit that, and that'll play the show also, because everything's uploaded to YouTube and everything's uploaded to Google or any search engine. I like Google the best because it seems to be more accurate on especially Radio Tribune. It seems that works very well. Sometimes Yahoo and some of the other ones, they are a little touchy, but anyways, I know Google works good, and that'll help you out, and you'll be able to get recorded shows that are part of the archive, and you can watch them and rewatch them. You can tell your friends about it. And I think what we say here at The Herd is very, very important now. Maybe we don't have a really large following at the moment. We're going to try to build one up, because I think as more people realize how important what's going on in this country is, it really comes down to the survival of this country, and more so than that, the way of life in this country. Because we had, from our founding, built ourselves up to be the most powerful, strongest country in the world with the highest living standard, and so forth. And now along comes a guy like Hussein Obama, and down goes our living standard, and up goes all the bad numbers, and down go all the good numbers. Now he publishes a phony number like the unemployment rate of 4.7%. That's not accurate. That's an untruth. That's Washington misspeak and Washington accounting. There's 94 million people looking for jobs in this country. There's only some 200 million people in the working pool. So how does 90 looking for work out of 200 people in the work pool, how does that equate to a 4.7% unemployment rate? Could you tell me that, please? Because I don't get the math. And this is the despicable stuff that Washington tries to throw on you people. And you have to have common sense, and you have to have a certain amount of gray matter between your ears. And any country that falls down on the gray matter capability is going to end up like a Venezuela or a Greece or something like that that has severe, severe problems. And they're going to have to hit more than a reset button to fix themselves. I think it's going to take a revolution. And that's pretty bloody and pretty scary. And in history, there's been some of those, like the French Revolution, where kings have literally lost their heads. And is that what we want to see here in America? We've seen some of these movies that have been projected for the future, like Mad Max and things of that nature. Not my cup of tea, but when you watch the clips of those things, you go, holy smokes. I mean, this country, you can foresee, depending on the leadership, that this country could very easily get like that. And what if the ISIS movement and these terrorists and these fundamentalist ideologues take over this country any more than they already have? We're going to end up in a mess. And we need to have some real intelligence involved here, because the way our system is set up, we still have the right to vote. But the problem with that particular right is it's been under attack now for a couple of decades, and we've had a concerted effort by the liberals and the progressives to dumb down whoever they can dumb down. Now, in the school systems, from grammar school on up, maybe kindergarten on up, they have indoctrinated our young people into a liberal progressive philosophy that will be the destruction of this country. That is a cancer. But those people that have that kind of propensity and that kind of brainwashing end up voting for the liberals and the progressives. And that was the point. That's the reason that the liberals and the progressives have dumbed down everybody to that kind of thinking, because that keeps them in power. And it's all about power. And it's not for the people, that power, it's for them. Look at the way these people that profess to be the people fighting for you. Hillary loves to go out, we're fighting for you, and I'm with her, and all these things. What does that mean, I'm with her? Yeah, well, her is, she makes hundreds of millions of dollars on speaking fees with her and her co-conspirator Bill Clinton and the Clinton Crime Foundation. And how much of that money do you really think goes to the downtrodden and the needy and the poor as they fly around in their private jets and pay Chelsea Clinton some $1 million a year salary for doing what? I don't know. But depending on what's available out there, I mean, my God, they are all about themselves. Look at Al Gore and his climate warming cry of years ago that the California was going to be in the ocean by now, and Florida is going to be completely wiped out by the rising tides from the melting snow cap because of global warming. Well, he lives on the coast in Santa Barbara in a, I don't know, $11, $12 million house. So what a hypocrite he is. He flies around on Gulf Streams and himself and maybe a few other people with him, and talk about a carbon footprint is astronomical. The guy is a complete hypocrite, as most liberals are. They try to control the working man. They try to dumb the person down. They keep you indebted to them, and then they hand you out a few cookies. Of course, after they get all your money, they give you a few cookies back that buy your votes. We as people have to remember the money comes from us. If we don't work, they don't get any money. And we have to think about this, and we have to get our tax structure in an even keel that will work for all Americans. And my proposal to do that is that you have a national sales tax. That doesn't sound too good maybe to the uninformed, but I talk the truth around here. I call things what they are. I don't call Obamacare the Affordable Care Act, because that's a lie. There's nothing about Obama that's care, really. It's forced mandated insurance is what it is. It's forcing the American people to buy something. Some of the people don't need what's being sold to them. American male in his 60s trying to buy health insurance doesn't need maternity benefits, for example. But the only off-the-shelf health care you can buy includes all that, because they come out with a one-size-fits-all type progressive movement that takes over 7% of the economy and really makes all the people in the country dependent upon the liberals and the progressives. This is their game plan. This is what they want. Open your eyes and see the truth. And we, the people, have to get together like Through the Herd and other shows like this, but we have to be involved. Remember the Tea Party? That was a movement that came up very quickly. And the liberals and the Republicans went crazy because for once they got together and fought something. They can't have another party come up and compete with them because that'll ruin their game plan. So either one way or the other, whether they're Dems or whether they're Republicans, they can't have another party competing with them because the people might smarten up and go for a third party that makes more sense than the claptrap they're producing out of their mouths. At any rate, it's very dangerous. Now that's what Donald Trump proposes. He's a person that's not going to be controlled by either party. And that scares the death out of everybody, including the mainstream media, because Donald Trump is not controlled by them either. He says what he wants to say and what needs to be said for the most part. And people like to hear that because that's what they've been waiting for someone to say for a long time. But when you're under the guise and the control of either party, those party establishment won't let you talk like that because that's not the system. The system is that they control the hens. We're the hens people, according to the mindset of the liberals and the progressives. We are the hens. We have to be controlled. They're the foxes, and they're the ones in charge because they're the ones that they are the elite. We've elected them. We elected them. But once they're elected, they lose sight of how they got there. And they actually think, like Obama does, that he's some kind of anointed as a king, that he knows the best for American people. And even though he has that opinion of himself, he has been wrong on every single issue and policy that he has put forth to the American people. Just a recent example with Brexit. He supported them staying in the euro, as did Hillary Clinton. Of course, between Hillary and Obama, there's something going on there. We know for a fact they don't like one another, but they're in the same party and they have the same type of agenda in a way. But there's more than that going on. Somebody has the goods on the other party, and I want to think that Hillary somehow and Bill have gotten the goods on Obama. Now, Obama is not a clean slate. He has a lot of skeletons in his closet. And the Clintons probably have a lot of cards that they can play, is my guess. And Obama is all about him, all about his legacy, all about his history of how they're going to rate him. They're going to rate him the worst president ever. And he is fighting that, trying to somehow survive in a world that for the most part, knows the truth because the proof is in the pudding. He has been a gigantic failure. There has never been a president in the history of this country that has had the bad numbers that this guy's administration has put forth. Not one sector has had a 3% growth rate since he's been in office. That is pathetic, especially when he took over in the middle of a recession. We're supposed to have a recovery from recessions. We always have in the past because America is a strong, strong country with a lot of wherewithal. We have a lot of natural assets that we can rely upon. And to have a despicable economy like what's come forth through the Obama administration, there's a lot of reasons for it, a tremendous amount of reasons, because he's an ideologue and an idiot. He doesn't know what makes the world go round. He doesn't know about economy. He doesn't know about the devastation that's being caused by an ISIS and an Islamic fundamental ideology that could possibly destroy this country and every other country it comes into play with. Look what it's done to Germany. Merkel, being this liberal goody two-shoe, has taken in over 1 million Muslims into that country, Islamic fundamentalists, if you will. And look what happens when you're raised like these people are, nothing to knock the way they're raised, except that it's fundamentally different from the way we're raised. We believe in a lot of equal rights. We believe women have equal rights. You wouldn't believe that if you hear the liberals talk about Republicans, but we do. As a matter of fact, I would say and put forth that the Republicans appreciate women more than the liberals. And look at the Hillary Clinton's way she treats women. Look at the money that she takes from foreign governments in the Mideast that treat women terribly. Hillary Clinton is a gigantic hypocrite. Gigantic hypocrite. And she is absolutely the most fundamentally dishonest person that has ever had the audacity to run for president. It's unbelievable to me that somebody is poorly equipped for a job with as much baggage as that lady has in her closet and just skewing out of her pockets, that she could ever run as a formidable candidate for anything. If you look at the numbers, the Democratic National Committee stacked the deck on their side of the process to obtain a nominee for president to run as a Democrat. They knew that Hillary Clinton had a lot of problems, and they knew that they had to make her look good. So they found this Bernie Sanders lying around, who was an independent. He wasn't really a legitimate Democrat. He'd been an independent his whole life, and they propped him up there. He's a socialist communist, is what he is, and his policies will never ever work in the United States. As a matter of fact, they've never worked anywhere in the world where they've tried. They've always failed. And this is the Bernie Sanders, where everything is a utopian existence, where nobody has to work. You don't have to pay for college. We take care of everything, bigger and bigger government. And all that is devastation and a collapse because you take away the incentive from the individuals to do anything. I mean, if you're the one that's working and being productive, and making a lot of good things that people are using and benefiting from, why would you want to be continue that process when everything's taken away from you and given to Joe Sixpack, who's never created anything in his life except empty beer cans? I mean, how is that productive? But this is the mantra of the Democratic liberal policies. They want everybody dependent upon them, and that's what keeps them in power. And their power is only used for the benefit of themselves, not for the good of the people, for the benefit of themselves, like Al Gore's $12 million house on the coastline in Santa Barbara. He is a fundamental hypocrite and a liar. So is Hillary Clinton. Came out of the White House, they were not only stone cold broke, they were heavily in debt. Well, one of the reasons they were heavily in debt is because Bill Clinton had amassed millions of dollars in legal fees because of his battles for what he'd done while he was in the White House, getting BJs and whatnot, and raping women and all kinds of numbers that he was doing. I mean, lying to the American people. I mean, a despicable performance. And they had all the gates, the travel gate, the FBI gate, this gate, that gate, Vince Foster gate. I mean, everything that follows the Clintons is devastation. Dead bodies everywhere. It's following them all the way from Arkansas. There's dead troopers in our. It just goes on and on with these people. They are terrible, terrible people. And you look at the record of Hillary Clinton with Benghazi and under gunfire when they landed in Bulgaria or whatever the hell they were. Her story was, oh, they were under sniper fire and this and that. And then you play back the tape, and they were getting flowers and stuff and little greeting cards from children there on the Tamarack when their plane landed. There wasn't any gunfire. There wasn't any crap. That was a fundamental lie from Hillary Clinton to make herself look like something. I mean, she is a complete fabricated loser, is what she is. As a matter of fact, on Netflix, The House of Cards supposedly portrays the Clinton. Let me tell you something. The woman on there that's portraying Hillary Clinton is a hell of a lot better than Hillary Clinton's ever been. That couple is despicable. Even though the president, Stacy, whatever his name is, Kevin Spacey, threw a reporter in front of a train and killed her in an earlier show before he was president. Well, here you go. I mean, it doesn't fall far from the tree. Some of these shows are pretty accurate. And for us to believe that the Clintons were probably the worst administration ever for corruption and everything, and you get this claptrap coming from this Robbie Moot, whoever that is a campaign fundamentalist for Hillary Clinton was on Chris Wallace last Sunday spewing from the mouth that Hillary Clinton had the most transparent Secretary of State administration ever. I mean, you look and you listen to these people and you go, what the hell is this guy talking about? Most uh, uh, Actually, I can't even talk. I mean, when you're the Secretary of State and you're lying to family members from dead people that were killed in Benghazi at the funeral of those people that were killed, and you're lying to the parents like to the mother, and you're telling the mother that we're going to get that despicable character that made that awful, god awful video that caused the death of your son. I mean, and this lady turns around and runs for president. I mean, it blows my mind. But anyways, back to my original thoughts and the reason for this show. Our number here is 702-493-5222. You really need to call or at least watch this show later at your convenience when you're off work or whatever. Just listen to what we have to say and believe it or not. But if you listen and really concentrate on what we're saying, we're telling you the truth. And we're asking you to think about certain things. Like what is the truth? What is the relationship and what is really happening with the numbers and so forth? And how has the Obama administration worked out, especially for like the blacks? If you're a black, how's this worked out for you? The first black president. How's your unemployment rate? I profess it's gone up. The white unemployment rate may have gone down, but it's a tremendously phony number. So everything is, misspeak and distorted. Everything about the administrations are that our government is not an honest government. It's fundamentally broken, and we need to take it back. The only people that we can trust in this country is we, the people. You can't elect officials and ever trust them because the power corrupts people. And it's just a natural event. I don't think you can stop it. It's natural if you're a human being that if somebody gives you power, you abuse it. I think it's like a drug. At some point, it goes to your whole being, and you can't fight it anymore. It overwhelms you, and you have to fight and hang on to that power no matter what you do, especially when you came as an elected official. What is your background? What is Obama's background? What is he going to return to? I know what he's going to try to return to, but he's going to be a phony. What was he before he got elected? He was a rebel rouser, a community organizer. That was his claim to fame. And he hung around with radicals. And he went to church if he really ever went, but his pastor was the Reverend Wright. God damned America. And I mean, this is the type of people that this radical listened to, and Bill's heirs and people of that nature that were rebel rousers themselves back in their younger years. I mean, this is the type of ideology that Obama adheres to. It's indoctrinated in him. His whole upbringing is very suspicious. His mother was a hooker, I guess. His father, I don't think his announced father is really his father, and that wouldn't be the first time anything like that's happened. Where's his college records? Where's his transcripts? How come people that went to places like he supposedly went to Columbia University, where are the students that were there when he was there? How come nobody has come forth and said they remember Barack Obama? How about any former girlfriends, anybody before Ma Belle, Michelle, whatever? Well, where are these people? There's nobody out there. And why is that? Maybe because all his friends were in Kenya. That's a possibility. But I think the colleges that he did go to, he got into them somehow with phony paperwork, kind of like Elizabeth Warren, the way she got a relationship with Harvard, where she had to pass herself off as an Indian with high cheekbones. These people are fundamentally dishonest. They have to take advantage of the system because they can't do anything on their own. They've never built anything themselves. They've always signed a check on the back of the check. They've never signed a check on the front. So these people are fundamentally flawed. And for us to fall for their claptrap, it's time that we got around this and stopped it. So please listen to what we have to say. If you disagree with us, call us up and tell us why you disagree with us, and we'll have an open, honest discussion. We're not going to be mad at the way you feel. We know there's a problem out there. We know that almost 50% of the people in this country have been systematically dumbed down. They have been indoctrinated into this brainwashed theory that bigger government and they're going to take care of you. They're the utopia that they're going to supply. Everybody gets free this, free food, free house, free Obama phone, and this and that. It doesn't work because you run out of other people's money to pay for all that. And why can't even the people that believe in this, why can't they look and ask themselves a fundamental, basic 101 question? Who is going to pay for this? Where does the money come from? We are a country, and we're made up of people that work within this country. We have producers and we have takers. If the takers overcome the producers, where are the takers going to continue to take from if the producers go away or become a taker themselves? What makes the system go on? Ask yourself that fundamental common sense question and see if you have an answer. If you come up with an answer, what's going to perpetuate this balloon before it blows up? I'd like to hear from it. 702-493-5222. What's going to cause the bubble to perpetuate and never burst? I'd like to know what that is because I don't see it. My common sense tells me that that bubble will burst. And we have a history. The housing bubble burst when Barney Frank and Chris Dodd was promising everybody a free house, and 125% loans to value. So if you had a $100,000 house, you could go out and borrow $125,000 on it. You wouldn't have to fill out any paperwork or anything as inconvenient as that. You just state what your income is, $500,000 a year, blah, 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 whatever you want to put down there. They're not going to check it because that would be against the rules. And they'll give you, for your $100,000 house, they'll give you a loan for $125,000. So you take $25,000 and you go piss it away because that's what people like that do. So now they owe $125,000 on their house. And when this little bubble bursts, and they can't keep up with the payments because the payments are too high to begin with, because they couldn't afford the house to begin with and didn't have any money in it to start with, they end up losing their houses or whatever. So how did the progressive liberal movement help you by giving you that loan that you couldn't afford? Could you tell me, show me how that actually helped you all? I don't see it. I don't get it. They hurt you. You see, when you give a guy a fish, you feed him for one day. If you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. That's the difference. That's the fundamental difference between the liberal way of life and the conservative way of life. The conservative will teach you how to take care of yourself. The liberal wants you dependent upon them so that you keep them in power so they can continue to give you fish. The problem with that whole scenario is what happens when they run out of fish? Where does the fish come from? It comes from the producers. And if the producers stop producing fish because they no longer have any incentive to do so, where does those gifts that the liberals love to give away come from? You listen to the Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton debate on TV here or live that was in Las Vegas at the Venetian. All you heard the entire night was Santa Claus. The only thing was missing was the red suit and the beard. And it was all a bunch of claptrap crap, to be honest with you, where each one was trying to outpromise the other one about how much they were going to give you. That's all the liberal progressives have, is lies and distortions. That's all they've got. And that's what gets them votes. And half the people fall for it. Well, think, people, you're going to get away with this for a while, but eventually the people that are paying all the bills are going to get tired of paying all the bills. And when they stop, the beginning of the end is there. And I think that beginning has started already. I know myself, I had 5 companies. I barely have one anymore. Well, 2, but one takes care of itself pretty much. The other one, I just about stopped everything. I still do a few things because my customers depend upon me. But other than that, I'm not trying to do anything at all to increase that business because I don't have any incentive to. Why would I? The harder you work, the more regulations you get, the higher your taxes go, the more paperwork you have to fill out, the more crap you got to put through. People get tired of that. I'm tired of it. And it just doesn't work anymore. Have you ever tried to call someone on a phone and try to get someone to answer? It's all voicemail. Nobody answers their phone anymore. So when you're in business trying to get something done, everything takes you 4, 5, 6 times longer to get something done than it used to because nobody does their job. It's just the country is going downhill and it's going downhill fast. I observe things, I see things, I see destruction everywhere as I look. I see things going in the wrong direction. As a matter of fact, the only thing I see going in the right direction is when I happen to go to a Trump rally or something and I look at the people that attend. I don't really, I watch Trump because you watch him in person, he's very presidential, that's all I'll say. Very presidential. But you look at the people around him, because those are the people that interest me. What do the people say? And the people are all intelligent. They're kind of like the Tea Party people were back several years ago when they were up and coming. I went to a meeting out in Searchlight, Harry Reid's country, where they had a get together of the Tea Party people. And everyone that showed up there, the 20,000 people or whatever, were all very decent Americans. They were of different colors. They were clean. They were educated. You could have a reasonable discussion with them. There was nobody fighting. There wasn't any angry words even said. It was a very, very down to earth, sensible gathering. You go to a thing like the Wall Streeters and the demonstrators outside some of these Trump rallies and stuff. These are paid operatives by the establishment that wants to disrupt everything. These people by nature are rebel rousers. That's what they do. And that's the way they think that dividing the country, making two fractions, is what keeps them in power. Because God forbid if the country ever leaned towards intelligence to where people could figure out themselves on their own and figure out how to fish on their own, the days of the Democrats would be numbered. Kind of like when Bill Clinton was in power there for a while, accidentally, by the way. The only reason he ever got elected president was because Harry or Perot took away all those votes he did from the intelligent voters and divided the conservative party. And then Bill Clinton got into office. Ross Perot got 19% of the vote one year, and I don't know, a significant portion the next was how he got reelected. But he never should have been in office. And when he was in office, after 2 years, he lost the control of the House and the Senate because, as most liberals do, they lose control of everything like Obama did because they try to run through everything. There's a distortion and a lie to the people, and the people catch on. And you have to get rid of that absolute power. And that's what happened to Obama. But in the Clinton story I was relaying was that Newt Gingrich in there took over the Congress for the first time in 40 years, and he had a plan with 10 items on it, a contract with America. And one of those was welfare reform. And what they did with Hillary Clinton kicking and screaming the whole way because they didn't want to do this, the conservatives kicked off the welfare rolls after a certain amount of time you no longer got welfare. Sorry, the days are over. You have to go get a job. Well, all the liberals were kicking and screaming because they're their voters. How in the hell? You can't do that to people. Well, we did it to people. And guess what happened? The people that got kicked off the rolls had to get off the couch, turn off Oprah, and go get a job. Well, after working for a while, they found out, hey, you know what? I can do this. So they became somewhat successful, at least at taking care of themselves, not relying upon welfare. The welfare rolls diminished magnificently, and it worked. It worked. You see, these things work. You can't hand everybody a free gift and expect any good results from it. That doesn't go. So, anyways, now what does Obama do? When he gets elected, he goes back on the welfare deal and gets all that done where anyone can get on welfare and stay there forever. So, I mean, these policies, these programs, they're all flagrantly, blatantly apparent to what they are. and they're to get votes. All these refugees coming in here and all these immigrants coming in without paperwork, unvetted, just a policy of allowing these people to come into the country when we're in such bad shape on employment and everything else. Why are we letting anybody into this country unless they're brain surgeons or something? Why are we allowing people into the country, especially with the ideology that these people have been raised from? This is senseless. It's senseless. But think about it. Even the low information people should be able to realize what's going on. These people are not going to help you folks. They're going to hurt you folks, and they might kill you. Okay? But the point is that this increases the base of the dumb people in this country that vote for the liberals and the progressives. And that's why they're being allowed into this country, because the liberals and the progressives like Obama and Hillary Clinton want them to be in the country, because that cements them into power by distorting the electoral map. That's what the problem is with California. The state of California has been distorted with illegal immigrants. There's too many bodies in California that don't belong there. And that gives them the electoral college in that particular state and creates a lot of problems for getting an intelligent president in this country. We need a leader, and you're not going to get a leader ever, ever, ever from the progressive liberal side of the aisle. Name one. I'm waiting. Can you call me? 702-493-5222. Name one progressive liberal leader that's been productive for this country. I'm waiting. No calls. It certainly wasn't Jimmy Carter, who used to be the worst president ever until Obama came along. And it wasn't Bill Clinton. He has a record of his administration, 8 years, because of Perot. But the only reason he has anything attached to it all that was productive was because of Newt Gingrich and the conservative policies that were ramroded through Congress and the Senate while Bill Clinton was fighting all the way. That's the reason that Bill Clinton had any successes, if you want to call it that at all. They weren't successes that came from him, and they weren't successes that Hillary Clinton can point to and say she's going to appoint Bill Clinton to be in charge of the economy, because who could be better, she says. How about Newt Gingrich? Because that's the reason that there was any successes at all back in those days. And then what did the liberals, progressives do about Newt Gingrich? They despised the man because he was productive and he was taken away from the takers, the people on welfare and this and that. And they despised him. And I heard back then, and this was back in the 90s, they spent $150 million on advertising to defame Newt Gingrich, to lie about him and take things out of context and so forth, to distort him through the mainstream media. And that's what happened. They had enough money from the unions and so forth into their coffers that they could attack Newt Gingrich on that basis. And that's what happened to Newt Gingrich. They destroyed the man who did so much good for this country because the progressives and the liberals can't stand it. And now that's what they're doing to Donald Trump. We have an opportunity to get a businessman, and in comparison to what an Obama's been for going on 8 years and what a Bill Clinton was, for 8 years, you compare Donald Trump to those people, and you can see a successful businessman. Who compares to that you've ever heard of running for president? Who has the type of track record that Trump has? Who has ever created as many jobs as Trump did in the private sector? Name one. I'm waiting. 702-493-5222. See, nobody calls because nobody can come up with anybody. I'm like the announcer out in the streets of New York asking people in the street, what has Hillary Clinton ever accomplished? And then just blanks, you hear birds floating around in their head. They don't have anything that they can say. They can't point to one thing that lady's ever done that's been productive. Now ask her what she's lied about, and Jesus Christ, I mean, man, you'll never get another question in because the answers will just keep coming. I mean, these are pathetic people, and it really goes to show the depth that this country sunk into if this lady even thinks that she can run for president. That's what we have to stop in the future, folks, is when you get a despicable character up here, because the bench on the Democratic side is so depleted of any resources whatsoever. There's nobody on that bench. That's why they had to dust off a Bernie Sanders to run. There's nobody else there. The two people they put up there were very, very weak. Never heard of them before. They just don't have any talent. And the reason they picked on Bernie Sanders because he's so bad, they thought accidentally he would make Clinton look good. And that didn't really happen. Look at the numbers. Bernie Sanders got more delegates, not super delegates, but more delegates than Hillary Clinton did. What does that tell you? You have the most pathetic nominee ever on the Democratic Party. If she makes it, how about that little secret meeting that I'm sure nobody out there knows about? But Hillary Clinton met with Loretta Lynch. I think they were in Arizona at the airport. Both of their planes happened to be there at the same time. And Hillary Clinton had a little secret meeting with Loretta Lynch. Now, people with the news, of course, was there because they follow them around. What was talked about? Oh, they talked about golf, hair appointments, their nails. Oh, come on, give me a break. Loretta Lynch is in charge of the Department of Justice. The FBI is investigating intently Clinton. And you think they don't talk about that? What are they? This is ridiculous. I mean, these people are such liars and distortionists. It's pathetic. You know what? We as people, we can't have a liar. I mean, I understand the nature of countries and our enemies and this and that. And we have to be very careful with what we put forth out there. Other countries don't have the difficulty we have. We're supposed to be an open society with a free press and this and that. But some things you should keep secret from your enemies. I agree with that 100%. But on the other hand, when you have people in government that are lying to your friggin' face, and your son, for example, has been killed in Benghazi, and the Secretary of State lies to your face and blames it on a video, when at the same time she had been telling other leaders of the country, we know it wasn't a video, so don't fall for what we're putting out there, That lie was perpetrated for one reason and one reason only. It was about 50 days before an election. And if that was exposed for what it was, an out-and-out failure on the Obama/Clinton administration, then Obama probably was going to have a hard time getting reelected. So they put forth this falsehood with Rice and so forth to lie right to the face of the American people. And Obama perpetrated the lie, as did Clinton. And these are despicable, lying bastards. And anytime somebody lies to you, American people, you've got to say, wait a minute, turn off the switch. Don't believe a damn thing these people tell you. As a matter of fact, you'd be much more on top of things if you believe the exact opposite of what they're telling you. You'd be way, way better off. And this is what we have to realize. And I hope the people of this country start to get together and talk between one another and start putting these ideas out there and see what the feedback is. And it's easy to have these conversations. I have them with some family members. There's some members out there that have an affinity to the unions or whatever, and they believe this claptrap that they've heard over the years. And when I have a debate with them, they can no longer answer my questions. They can't come up with anything. So they start going off in Never Never Land with things that aren't even relevant. And I point that out to them, and they have no response to that. So really the conversation's kind of over. I don't just shut it down because I'll talk to anybody, but when you can't answer any question or you start calling somebody names like you're a racist or you're this or that, I mean, what the hell are you talking about? Some of the liberal progressives, people mention Trump, oh, he's a racist. And they go, well, how is he a racist? What are you talking about he's a racist? Well, they can't answer that question. They've just been told to call Trump a racist, so that's what they do. They call black people that are conservatives, they call them Uncle Toms and racist. Well, how are they racist? They're black. Racist in what way? Of course, the most racist people in the world are people like Obama. He's a 100% racist because they rather have that card to use when people disagree with their policies. They call them a racist. And that's one of their tricks, and they don't want to give it up. Hillary Clinton will use the fact that she's a woman, and she's going to play the woman card. She's already been playing the women's card, and that's going to be her mantra. Anytime something hits the fan, it's because she's a woman. And the vast right-wing conspiracy and all this crap. I mean, these people are pathetic, pathetic, pathetic. For God's sakes, people, I hope enough of you wake up and don't fall for this crap, because this election we have to straighten out this country. And then we, the people, need to get together and have meetings and town halls and so forth and discuss these things openly with each other and not allow things like this to happen. We have to take our elected officials, get them the hell out of power, all the old establishment like the Harry Reids and so forth, wipe them out, get new, fresh faces in there with fresh ideas that come from the people, and then get term limits and don't allow those people to gather cobwebs on them, like all these people like Burrs and stuff have to be carried off the floor of the House when they get in their hundreds and they can't even function anymore. They got to be carried out in a stretcher. Don't allow that to happen. We need young people. Get your oats sown when you're coming up. You're being educated. You come out. You're looking. Oh, I run for office. Serve for a couple of years, whatever, and then go on to other things in the private sector with that as your background. But don't become entrenched in some public service, which is not service, because very quickly, once you're elected, it becomes service for yourself. And we're going to expose that, and we're going to wipe it out, because we can't have public servants that are not servants for the people, but servants for themselves. So, that being said, everything in this world lately is not the way it's supposed to. You look at everything. You look at Obama and Hillary supporting the stay plan that the British had. Well, they exited, so you had Brexit. Well, they were on the wrong side of history there, because they were back in the wrong approach. When you have a Brussels, another country, telling the Britons what size teapot or what size hairdryer they can have, it's time to make a change, and that's abuse of power, and we can't allow that. We have to stop this and nip it in the bud. I have a case. Maybe people listening are aware of it. I've certainly talked about it probably too much, but the reason I've talked about it is because it's indicative of what's going on in this country across the board, because it's abuse of power is exactly what it is. It's that we've become a country. We have laws, but we don't enforce the laws. We need to have the laws that we have in the books, immigration, you name it, all the way up and down the line. If there's a law in the book and we don't enforce it, we are the problem. We need to absolutely demand that our laws be enforced by the people that are in power to enforce the laws. And when they don't do it, we have to jump up and down and scream, because they're going to take us over. If we don't enforce the laws, we're going to get wiped out. For example, I have a case right now. There's a judge that's making a consideration, if you will, to pay legal fees again to lawyers that are not entitled to legal fees. Well, this judge has a propensity to pay all lawyers. He told me one day last year in a hearing, you have to understand something. All lawyers need to be paid. Well, what the hell is he talking about? What if you're the losing lawyer? This is a civil case. This isn't some criminal case. It's civil. If you lose and you didn't prevail, you're the losing party. Why should you get paid anything? Now, if you do, you have to get paid from your losing party that hired you by contract. If you have a contract to work for this person to defend them in a civil case and they lose, okay, yeah, they should pay you. They had an agreement with you, if you weren't working on a contingency, to pay you. Well, collect your money from them, but you can't collect it from the winning party. That's called the prevailing party. And in this country, we have a perversion as it is. We don't have loser pays. Every other country in the world, if you sue somebody and you lose, guess what? You have to pay that party's legal fees that you sued, okay, because you lost. That would cut down at least half of the lawsuits in this country. But the lobby for the lawyers are so strong in Washington, D.C., that they've got this doctrine out there that everybody pays their own legal fees. There's no loser pay system. So even if you win, you got to pay your own lawyer. And that's ridiculous. But what it does, it creates a big base of lawsuits. Like you can sue McDonald's because you spilled your coffee on yourself. You did it, but you can sue McDonald's because it's going to cost McDonald's so much to defend themselves over a ridiculous lawsuit. And if they win and you lose, McDonald's still has to pay their lawyers. So that's called legalized extortion in this country. The lawyers just dream up these cases. Your burger's got too much fat in it, so they sue a Burger King and things of this nature, trying to get lawsuits out there that they might accidentally get paid in. Well, we have to stop that. That's stupid. It's been told and told for decades now. That's stupid. That has to change. But the lawyers have hijacked the judicial system in this country, and it's destroyed. It makes no sense. So that's one of the things I hop on. It's not just my case, it's the case of everybody. It's the case of the judicial system being broken in this country. Now, this particular case I'm talking about, this judge that all lawyers must be paid, he's actually contemplating right now to award attorney fees against money that is accidentally here in Nevada, and it's only here in Nevada because another judge, the previous judge, broke the law to get it here. Okay, so there is some money sitting here in Nevada that they have locked up in a bank. Now, because it's within the jurisdiction of Nevada, the jurisdiction thinks they can do whatever they want to do with the money. Now, this particular judge thinks that he can take money that rightfully belongs to the prevailing party and give it to the losing party, not the losing party themselves, no, the losing party's attorneys. The person that lost the case, the defendant, doesn't have any money and never did have any money. So the only way the lawyers on that side of the aisle were ever going to get paid was to get it from either the trust or from the prevailing party that had money. So completely backwards. You can't do either. You can't get money from a trust. That's money that's not there yet. It's being held in trust. What can't you understand, Judge? That's not money available to you to award to anybody. The people that money's being held for can't even anticipate the money. They can't assign it. They can't do a goddamn thing with it until they get it. What don't you understand about this? This is fundamental 101 law. You can't take money you don't have and pay somebody that's not entitled to the money to begin with. That's a double whammy. You can't do either way. You can't do this. But there's a judge right now thinking he can. And there's a lawyer that's presenting this to the judge that is a despicable lawyer that should be sanctioned. As a matter of fact, he should pay all the fees of the party that's being, attacked in this way, because you can't do this. So, and the lawyer knows better, but the lawyer might accidentally get paid by this dumb judge, so he's going to try it. They need to be sanctioned. This is absolutely preposterous. It's preposterous. And that's what's happening to this country. If they can do this, the government, a judge, can just go attach your money in your bank account. Well, what are you doing now? How can you do that? I don't have any judgment against me. I didn't lose any money. I don't know. What are we doing? Oh, we're just doing it because all lawyers need to be paid. So this is the lawyers over here. They can't pay their bills. So we're going to take your money from your bank and pay the lawyer. But I haven't done anything. It doesn't matter. We need your money to pay the bills of the lawyers over here. So we're just going to pay the lawyers. I mean, this is what this country's coming to, folks. It's stupid. Everything's upside down, and we, the people, have to stop it. We have to stop it. Okay? So call into this show, support this show, Radio Tribune. Go online, look it up, radiotribune.com. You can see all our old shows on there, the ones that uploaded to YouTube. Or just go online to any search engine and type in The Herd, type in my name, Clark. You can type in and all the cases will come up, all the information about what's going on in this country will come up, and you can read it yourself at your leisure. So please do that, and I wait for your response, and I hope you all get together and have meetings or whatnot, and let's get this country back in shape, because we need it. We have to restore our government and our system to something that makes sense. Because right now it doesn't make sense. It just does not make sense. Thanks for listening.